I was 6 the night I made a billionaire mad on purpose to save his life. Tiny in a hand-me-down blue dress, big enough to shove my way under chandeliers that looked like upside-down ice palaces, and loud enough to say what no one else in that glittering room wanted to hear. That drink isn't safe. The Harborview Conservatory in Riverton City smelled like lilies and money, and the way people stared at me said, I didn't belong. You know what I mean? But belonging doesn't matter when you've got a reason. And my reason stood there in a navy suit that cost more than our apartment's rent for a year. Colton Ames, the golden name on plaques and hospital wings, lifting a glass with a thin blue thread tied around the stem like a secret I wasn't supposed to notice. 10 minutes earlier, I'd seen a man in a dark hat press an envelope into the sommelier's palm behind a service door, watched those steady hands tie that thread with a smile that never touched his eyes. So when Serena Vale urged security to drag me out, and the quartet tried to pretend their bows weren't shaking, I did the one thing a small kid with no microphone can do. I made him mad, hit the stem with my scuffed sneaker. The crystal spun, kissed the marble, shattered into a red starburst, and for one breath, the whole room was just a gasp hanging in the air. Then a terrier slipped loose from backstage and lapped the spill like punch, whined, shuddered foam at the mouth, still as a dropped glove at Colton's shoes, and yeah, that happened. The party died where the dog did, and when the lab strip flashed red and the word poison cracked the hush, something in Colton's face changed. Disbelief burned off like fog, and what was left was the kind of fear that makes you see clear Mac Rivera, the bodyguard with shoulders like a doorframe, moved me behind him, and Colton's voice went, Captain, steady. No one leaves. Not a suggestion. A verdict, cameras popped like summer insects. Senator Harlan Wicks thundered about rights. The event manager, Marla Brighton, gripped her clipboard so hard, her knuckles went white. Serena tried to sew the night back together with the word optics, but Colton bent to me and asked, Quiet, you chose to insult me to stop me. I nodded, because breath was tight. If I hadn't, you'd be gone. And he took that in with a swallow, then told Mac to find the bottle with the blue thread. People always say you can't read a room. I think you can. If you've had to fear, sits different on different people. The senator wore it loud, like a red tie, Brandon Keene. The banker wore it, like sweat that couldn't find a handkerchief fast enough. Marla wore it in her eyes, flicking to the side door. Serena wore anger bright and polished, all fire for the cameras. And while they spun, Mac came back with a bottle tucked among catering stock, faint blue thread winking under the light, and the floor felt like a stage where truth had finally been dragged into the scene. Then came Nico Santoro, the sommelier, who tied the thread older in the bright light than he'd looked in the shadows. Mac had him by the elbow. Tell Mr. Ames what you did, a guard said, and Nico tried a brittle smile that couldn't hold up under the weight of a father's fear. I have a son, he said. They threatened him. I tied the thread because a man told me to. I didn't want to hurt anyone. And if you think that made the night easier, it didn't. It made it messier because villains are simple until they're not. Until you hear about a boy who needs his dad. Colton's jaw didn't rage. It set sadness with steel in it. Who paid you? Nico shook his head. If I say it out loud, they'll kill us all. And a ripple of panic ran through sequins and tuxedos, cameras, whispers, the whole ballroom breathing too fast. And that's when I said what I knew in my bones. There's always a second plan. There's a second bottle. And minutes later, Mac proved it. Another blue thread tucked where busy hands might not look twice, and the string section quietly packed up like they didn't want to be witnesses. Colton did something strange, then he cut through the fog with a rule that didn't sound like a rule. He made a circle of truth, called folks forward one by one, and asked why they were there and what they truly thought of him. Not a speech, not a toast, Just the kind of question that peels a mask, and you'd be surprised how people answer when they can't hide behind polished words. Some stumbled over compliments like they were climbing out of a well. Some let little knives slide into their sentences, helpful, sounding cuts meant to make a man smaller. And every time he glanced at me, I told him what I saw. Kids who grow up fast learn to read. Tells the way other folks read menus. The senator's voice went up when he said, "Honest." Brandon kept tracking the exits like there were magnets in his shoes. Marla timed her blinks to the door. Then the twist started to show its face, not with a confession, but with an absence of sweat when the room was humming and the rich were wilting. Brandon went very still, too still. Calm is a beautiful thing. In the right scene in a locked hall, it can look like calculation. Colton saw it. "Mr. Keene, you seem less concerned than before." Brandon tried on the laugh he saves for boardrooms. "I'm relieved we're closer to answers." "Relief makes people breathe again," I said before I could stop myself. "You just held your breath, and for a blink I saw clean, cold hate cross his eyes." He pivoted to a holster, because some men think power is a straight line from their hand to a weapon. Mac put him on the marble before pride could finish the sentence. And when the cuffs closed, Brandon spat the thing. Conspirators always spit when they're caught. "You think this is about me? You have no idea who else wants you gone." That's when I felt it. A different kind of quiet. At the edge of the crowd, Elliot Crane, trustee. The man who always stands just out of the frame, and somehow appears in every photo he'd worn the night. Like a tailored suit, no sweat, no noise, just watching. Serena's eyes flicked to him and back, quick as a match. But I saw at him. I tugged Colton's sleeve, the quiet one who looks like he belongs more than anyone. And now you could feel the floor lean toward that corner, stir. "Crane, join us," Colton said. Even voice Elliot walked in like it was his garden, surely. "We've had enough theatrics," he said. "Reasonable as lukewarm coffee, but reasonable doesn't get you home when the truth is bleeding on the floor." "Where were you?" "When Nico was paid," Colton asked. Circulating, Elliot answered. "Trustees do what trustees do." The kind of sentence that means everything and nothing, and my voice small but stubborn, cut. "In the child saved my life," Colton said, before he even looked at me. "You'll answer her too," and for the first time Elliot's calm thinned. "I've stood by your side 15 years, he said, and the words "stood by your side" sounded like a shadow that never protects you from heat. You're too noble to see what power requires, which is control. He finally let the truth slip. "Philanthropy buys you enemies. I didn't start the storm, I chose to ride it." And that's how the mask really came off. Mac didn't need orders, but got them anyway. "Take him," and Elliot tried one last card. A dry laugh and a curse dressed like prophecy. "You'll never know how deep this goes. You'll see ghosts and friends and daggers and handshakes. That will be my victory," and Colton's answer was simple and heavy. "My victory is that I'm not dead on my own floor." After that, the room let go of its breath. People found their people. The chandeliers stopped feeling like interrogation lamps and went back to being lights. Serena spat that he'd regret trusting a child and carelessly dragging their name through the mud. Colton said he didn't care about papers, he cared about truth, and if you were listening closely, you could hear a life-changing shape in his chest. Statement searches clean up the ugly work behind survival. Mac kept the guards steady, Marla admitted. Fear had made her small, Nico called his son, and cried like a man who just got one more morning. Brandon reeled and promised to sue Senator Wicks, pretended his hands didn't shake, and me. I found a patch of wall under an old poster with Colton's smiling face and finally let my shoulders drop. Fear is lighter when it's carrying a reason. Kids like me learn that early. When the conservatory went quiet, the night outside was a deep city blue. Colton walked me to the door, asked where my mama was draped, his jacket over my shoulders like a superhero cape that smelled like cedar and adrenaline. "You changed me tonight," he said. Maybe enough to change more than me, and I believed him. Not because he was rich, because he listened, when a voice small enough to ignore stepped into his light and said, "Stop." Here's the part folks don't tell in the tidy version. Elliot's web was big, some donors left, others arrived, because truth shakes the tree and better fruit falls. Serena sold her ring and warned reporters that Colton had lost his mind. Yeah, that happened. And still the ground held, because people remember who chose life over optics, because a locked hall turned into a mirror. And some of us finally looked, because a little girl in a blue dress got loud. Got it wrong sometimes. Got it right when it mattered. If you're still with me, pull up a chair in the comments. Tell me who was more dangerous in that room, the ones who poured the poison, or the ones who cared more about reputation than a beating heart. Tell me if you've watched a mask slip in real life and pretended you didn't. Tell me if you've ever been the kid people tried to shush until truth knocked the glass out of a hand. And if you think courage can come from the smallest voice in the messiest room, hit subscribe, share this with someone who needs a reminder that justice isn't always loud, but it shows up. Then tell me what you'd have done under those chandeliers. Because the next time someone raises a glass, it might be your voice that keeps them alive.